Hey tankers, and welcome back to World of Tanks with PR154 with something a little bit different this time. Now, different people will celebrate New Year's Eve in very different ways. Some people use it as an occasion to catch up with family and friends. Others like to go out and hit the clubs and count it down. Others are quite happy to sit around at home and watch the shitty fireworks display on the ABC. Well, maybe the fireworks display's not that bad, but I've got to say the ABC coverage has really missed its mark recently. But if you're in the Perth clan, with bugger all else to do, stuck in lockdown, what you do is you have a few too many beverages, and then you have a 9v1 of 9 Tier 5 tanks against a Tier 10 Superheavy. And that's exactly what Corporal Ripley has done, loading up the Tier 10 German Superheavy, the Maus. He's loaded for bear, although at best I'd say he's facing off with raccoons rather than bears here. With the HE loaded, we have Fartsalot in the Stug 3G already taking up firing positions, but has a lucky escape from the Maus. We've got Nick G 1985 in the Lichtfeldhaubitz, who's also dropping a few shells Corporal Ripley's way, not landing any damage. Oh no, there we go. There's the first scratch. There is the first scratch on the 3,300 hit points of German armor. So perhaps getting into that fight might be a bit of a struggle. We can see Matt Black 07 has taken the high ground in the T67. Unfortunately, just slipping out of line of sight for Corporal Ripley. We have 17S1 creeping up behind in the T67. Unfortunately, a swing and a miss there. We've absolutely cleaned up a car or some sort of obstacle there. That was a bit of a lucky save for 17S1. Fartsalot moving up closer in the Sturmgeschütz 3G. And Corporal Ripley moves to hunt them down. Again, 17S1 poking out to get a shot in behind. Still not getting bites, even using APCR in the T67. Corporal Ripley managing to shut down Fartsalot with a single round of the high explosive. Now we have quite a number of tanks that have come in behind Corporal Ripley, and Corporal Ripley will have to deal with these vehicles to prevent them capping out. Unfortunately, Maus is not a vehicle that's known for its agility or its fast rate of turn. But now we're in quite a dangerous position here. His enemies have been able to box him in such that he's now in a three-way crossfire, copping it from several tanks in this corridor, copping it from the direction of the M485 here, as well as from the cap circle. Now, under normal circumstances, whenever you are in a position of crossfire and you're going to be at a significant tactical disadvantage. Fortunately, we do have quite a few hit points. But if you're ever in that situation, the best thing to do is just pick a line and push your way out of it. At the moment, Corporal Ripley is easily in a 6v1 situation. And as he pokes his gun down one end, he's just getting absolutely massacred from the other. Now that we've got the Panzer SFL-4C firing the APCR, he's turning the turret to face and engage those three tank destroyers. But as he's doing that, getting absolutely massacred from the opposite end by the likes of the T67, the 60 GFT, and they're just locking him down and putting him in place. Non-penetrating hit on the T67 has failed to deter it. It's still engaging. The Panzer SFL-4C still landing some very potent 250 hit point hits, but focusing fire on the lower health enemy vehicle allows Corporal Ripley to claim their second kill of the game. We've got Nick G 1985 making a very bold play in the Tier 5 French premium self-propelled gun, the Lichtfeldhaubitz 18B2, and is able to draw in close to the Maus. This is very bold and dangerous play here by Nick G, but unfortunately the shells just weren't doing too much from the front, and evidently not a hell of a lot from the side. Matt Black 07 manages to get in behind, as well as Bumph. I'm sure I'll be corrected on that one later, guys. Bag of Bones in the M485 also moving in. This is he's getting quite horrendously wrapped up here in the end game. Just not quite able to bring the gun to bear. And Bumph. Oh, lucky escape for Bumph there, managing to move forward just in time. Missing out on some critical damage there from, but not so for Hitler's Toaster in the Panzer SFL 4C. That sending it randomised back to the garage. Only down to 237 hit points now. It's not long to go if these guys can pen their shots. And a lucky fire set by that T67 ends up sealing Corporal Ripley's fate. But if anyone thought that was the end of the shenanigans, they were sadly mistaken. Nick G, 1985, transferring out of the Feldhaubblitz 18B2 and into the E100. We can see Nick has not mounted the 15cm main armament because, quite frankly, the 12.8cm main armament is quite adequate in this situation. Again, we have 1 Tier 9 versus 9 Tier 5s. Let's see how they go. Nick G moving up to the corner and taking a more aggressive standpoint to start with. We've just got the standard AP loaded, zeroing in, and that is a insta-kill on the Skoda T24 with a very destructive ammo racking shot. Very silly place to stop and stand there in the M10 RBFM. So that's 2 enemy vehicles down. Poking and trading against this Tier 10 behemoth while trying to engage it frontally, not working out. Only 14 hit points of damage dealt by the Panzer 4H against the E100 frontally. In order to successfully fight this, they're going to have to replicate their previous strategy and try to establish multiple angles of fire. But Nick G is having none of it. He's got the finger firmly on the W key here and just trying to take the fight to the enemy. Of course, Nick can't get too far away from the cap circle. If they do that, he's substantially outnumbered. There is a chance of being capped out. Now, he's been drawn into the same kill box that Corporal Ripley had found themselves in earlier in the evening, but and once again, as they're turning and bringing the gun to bear, these the vehicles are tending to melt away behind the corner. But a slightly more proactive approach here is starting to land the kills. And quite possibly a little bit more boldness and bravado from the Tier 5s. Now this is what we meant before by just picking a line and pushing it to get out of the crossfire. And Nick's also sort of anticipated being pushed in behind there and has made the turn. Unfortunately, again, having done so, as soon as attention was paid to another sector, the enemy has pushed in behind and is starting to chip away at the hit points. But what started out as a 9v1 is now a 3v1. So the Tier 5s are going to have to use every bit of their tactical nous to try to develop and maintain these crossfires where E100 can't bring its gun to bear. Putting a little bit of pressure on cap, that might allow them to shepherd the E100 in the direction that they wish it to go. T67 able to bite the E100. Not quite sure where the Panzer 5-on-4 or the T67 are. They had given the cap circle a bit of a love tap earlier. But we can see here Nick G enjoying a little bit more success this time around with the E100, just for taking a bit more of an aggressive approach in trying to push out of some of these crossfires. Now, trying to side scrape against this vehicle is quite possibly a bit of a mistake. It's a 12.8 centimeter main armament, so you need to have at least sort of 45 millimeters of side armor in order to avoid being overmatched by the 12.8 centimeter shells. Now, I'm not quite sure what the side armor on the Panzer 5-on-4 is, but that sort of effect on target during a very tightly angled side scrape suggests to me that it's certainly not enough to avoid an overmatch by the 12.8 centimeter gun on the E100. This just leaves 2 tank destroyers, but 2 tank destroyers can still be incredibly annoying. With all it takes is 2 at opposed ends that are firing APCR, and that can still whittle down the remaining hit points. We know that one of them is love tapping the cap circle, attempting to control Nick G's movements here in the E100. Once again, driving down the street, which is very frequently is proven to be a bit of a kill box in this sort of 9v1 scenario. But it does not appear that they've set the trap too firmly here. Nick G returning to base, and T67 operated by Oaksbane has taken a wider angle, going very wide at this stage. But they've made the mistake of rendezvousing in the same alignment, and that is exactly where Nick G is going to point the gun and is able to shut down Corporal Ripley. This is now a 1v1 of the E100 versus a T67. They certainly didn't mention this one in the history books. So long as Oaksbane is spotted by the E100, this is going to be a very tough contest for them to win. They're going to have to use all sorts of tactics to try to flank, to try to get side shots, to try to get rear shots, and be able to maneuver around the map in a way that they avoid detection by the E100. Otherwise, that gun is always going to be facing in their general direction. Of course, Nick G is not standing still, waiting to get flanked. They are taking the fight to the enemy, and rightly so. They have 3 times their hit points, so that is a reasonable decision to take under the circumstances. We are still hunting. Corporal Ripley pipes up from the enemy team. We're going to let you call this a draw. Oaksbane adds, "You can surrender now." He will accept. Oaksbane, of course, being the last alive. Zammy adds, "Nuts." And of course, Nick G adding the conversation, "Suck on my E100 nuts." All right, this is a sort of banter that we don't really get so much in random battles anymore. Now that the ability to communicate with the enemy team was switched off many patches ago, I can't imagine anything too constructive would have arisen out of that sort of discussion in the first place. But there we have it. They did actually bring it back very briefly as in a moment of nostalgia, where we were sort of revisiting older versions of World of Tanks. It was available for a very limited time. But here we're able to continue to relive the magic of communicating with the enemy team in training rooms. The T67 has finally been able to maintain some distance on the E100 and has started capping out. Unfortunately, it's probably going to take a lot less than a minute and a half for E100 to trundle back to the cap circle. I am going to speed this up. And we have contact. T67 again, taking the wide approach, just really looking for every opportunity to get a firing angle into the E100 that's likely to penetrate. Again, Nick G trundling back. Has been spotted by the T67. This time is on their side. They still have 6 minutes to go. With the T67 going dark, Nick G deciding not to come around the corner, and it looks like E100 has actually gotten the drop on the T67 this time. As everyone is quite astutely aware of their firing angles. T67 not walking past the window, but unfortunately has hesitated a little bit too long, but just long enough for the E100 to miss that shot. And now here we have the head-to-head clash, and that is the last of the T67. So very interesting way to spend your New Year's Eve there, Perth. But man, that looks fun as hell. I'll take my hat off to you. In the meantime, if you've got some wacky clan activities that you'd like to see featured on the channel, please reach out over Discord or any of the links below, and we'll do our best to sort you out. In the meantime, thanks again, Perth, for sharing this content with us, and take care out there.